Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Matthew back with another episode of Watty's channel. Today we are going to be completing the final video for round 3. So round 3 will consist of 20 matchups and 3 videos. And I said it before. I'll probably rehash it as often as I possibly can. First round really wasn't, in my opinion, true battles. It was just about getting the figures to the next step. Because there's so many customs, you're basically pushing a lot of same figures forward. So because of the amount of figures I had, both original and custom, I ended up with 80 victors in the first round. Now the second round is when things really started getting interesting, and when it really started getting, a lot of your top figures really started seeing real movement. And it sucks because there are just so many phenomenal figures that were eliminated in the first round, and by the time second round rolled around, you just realized how many top tier figures could have been making it through the first two, and it's all based on display of the figures, how they're shown on my shelves, etc. And round 3, it's no different. For those that know, this is the second time I've done this tournament. First time I did the tournament, a lot of the figures that have been removed in round 2 or here in round 3 we're talking round 4, round 5, round 6 type figures, and they're out of the competition by the second or third round. So a lot of really great matchups, sure enough, in this video, but it's also going to be a lot of heartbreakers as well for me. A lot of elite figures that I really love are not going to see onward movement to the next round. So the first matchup is going to feature a couple of XOX custom specific or exclusive figures, and they are the Galoob 2-ups of both Sid Vicious and Barry Windham. And I've said it before, when you look at these two particular figures from Galoob, you can use the XOX LJN versions or just talk about the actual Galoob line. Galoob had, with all the different figures, I think 31 total figures. Not including 2-packs, but the 2-packs were basically re-releases of the original 1-pack anyway. So 31 figures. If all you had was Sid Vicious and Barry Windham, or the other option is to have the other 29 figures, 100 times out of 100, I would choose these two figures because these are the cream of the crop as far as Galoob is concerned. I've said it before, that they did not do a lot of things right, but they also produced two of possibly the best figures you'll ever find of any action figure from any line, period. And these are two figures that I would have imagined could have gone all the way to the finals. Last two man standing, most definitely. And based on, where they sit on the shelf, they are finding themselves doing battle in the third round. And it's a heartbreaker that you're going to lose two elite figures right off the bat. So we'll start with Sid Vicious because that's where the history lies with me. As a kid, Hasbro was probably the only wrestling figures I could ever remember having. We had to be a half a dozen or so of Galoob figures. And because they were both 4-inch figures, they meshed well with one another. I'm trying to think if we ever had any other figures. They might have been like cheap dollar store knockoffs or something. I don't think we really had any other lines that I could remember. But Sid Vicious, because of the fighting pose of the figure, he was always my favorite. And unlike Hasbro, it was like a hard plastic type figure. You throw it on the ground or drop it anywhere, you don't have to worry about it breaking. Based on that, based on the fact that he had this incredible pose, like many of the figures that I enjoy from Series 1 with the legs spread apart and the knees bent, again, it's just a perfect figure and just an absolute godsend that, Ram Treasures was able to do this 2-up of Sid Vicious. I was definitely appreciative of the Ric Flair and Sting figures. Even Arn Anderson was a great addition. But Sid Vicious, and of course later on with Barry Windham, they could have done no wrong with these two figures. I love them both. And because I have history with Sid Vicious, I think this figure has the potential to win this entire tournament. It's going to be really hard to knock this one off because of said history. And again, because of all the other perfect attributes of the figure. But if there is one figure in this entire collection that might have the possibility to do so, it is going to be the Barry Windham. Just like the Greg Valentine pose, so many fighting attributes that you really can't find with many other figures. And I kind of said it before. I don't know exactly what their reference is as far as dropping the hammer, but to me, it just means, look at that. First off, perfect body slam, bam. Dropping the hammer just simply with his hand up like that. That's what I call dropping the hammer. And the way that he hooks the leg, I mean, this is such a fantastic figure. And like I said, to me, there are very few figures of this entire collection that I think could knock off Sid Vicious. And Barry Windham is definitely one of them. Do I like it more than Sid Vicious? Yes, I have the history with the other figure that I don't with this one. But that doesn't mean that I can't appreciate the fantastic fighting pose of the figure. And of course, it's a very simple black and gray boots, but it's a fantastic design there. Does it really stand out like a Bruiser Brody or an Ultimate Warrior type boots? No, but I mean, it doesn't have to. They are still two very elite figures of the overall collection. And one I don't want to choose. I really think this is like one of, if not the most impossible, battle I've had to choose from while doing these tournaments or while doing each of these videos. I've been around 7 minutes now, and it sucks because you kind of want to pay attention to the time, but you don't want to harp on each figure for too long when you got 7 matchups. Well, this one's going to feature 6 matchups, but it sucks. I really wanted to see these things go, 5 rounds or more because I felt like they both deserve it. I am going with Sid Vicious to move forward into round 4. And at the end of the day, yes, I do believe my history with this figure and me addressing the Galoob Sid Vicious figure as being my personal all-time favorite figure, I think that has to hold a lot of weight. But rest assured, the Galoob version 2-up of Barry Windham is definitely a top 10 figure among my entire collection. This is the type of figure I look at both of them technically. When I look at these figures, I definitely want to be a kid. I want to be 7, 8 years old again, and I want to wrestle these guys so badly. I don't, but man, they would be just so much fun, even as a grown adult. That one hurt. There's quite a few battles that sting, but man, that was painful. Alright, so the last figure from Random Treasures that's still in competition is going to do battle with one of the first figures from Wrestlingwriter that is still in competition. That is Hercules. So we talked about it 1,000 times. When I first saw the Zeus figure on Random Treasures, my face just lit up. When I got the figure in and I held it, and I didn't really expect the little chain accessory, that which was a nice little touch. The glossiness, the look of the figure, and the overall just physical appearance and positioning of the arms for playability, this is one of the most perfect figures that Random Treasures could come up with. Now, I could say, well, what about Sid Vicious? What about Barry Windham? Absolutely. But at the same time, those are just basically remakes of an existing line. So when I look at these figures, I call them Galoob figures. I call them Galoob 2-ups. I don't consider them to be necessary. Yeah, they're still Random Treasure exclusives, but exclusive as far as being LJN style figures, unique to Random Treasures. But among their own work, their own handiwork, where they're creating a whole new figure, whole new characters, essentially, they broke the mold with this figure. It's truly remarkable, and it's a tough call. There really isn't, in this type of instance, it's really not an easy answer, and I could never get, like I said, with so many of these chains, I could never get the chains displayed properly. So I got them all just choking them out. Just basically wrap it around a few times and just call it a day. It's a nice little addition to the figure. And now this one, the one benefit I do give to the Zeus figure over Wrestlingwriter's Hercules is that the Zeus is a rubber figure where this is not. So these resin figures, I mean, they're able to do much better artistry with an actual 3D printed face and head. Give it a lifelike look that you can't really get with a lot of these, rubber figures. Sometimes they chop off heads, they put a 3D printed head like this, and they put it on a rubber body, and fill it in, and it looks beautiful. You can't even tell that another head was added to it. Now this one here is fully resin, so there's no rubber anywhere around this figure. Good pose, just not a great pose. If his arms were lower a little bit, definitely a better for playability. Again, it's a statue. Like many of the resin figures, you're not ever going to use them for any other reason other than for display purposes. I think at one point I did my all-time favorite Wrestlingwriter acquisitions. I think if I'm not mistaken, I could have the number wrong. I believe Hercules came in at number 3. If not number 3, maybe number 4. This is definitely one of the most perfect Wrestling-Writer figures you're ever going to find among my collection. I probably have 30 plus figures from Wrestlingwriter. Sometimes I over exaggerate and say like, yeah, I got like 60, 70 figures. It's not that much, but I mean, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40, something like that. Yeah, this is not an easy choice because you have 2 phenomenal figures. So far, all 4 figures that I've shown could have been, semifinalists. It sucks that, they square off against each other so early in competition. But to have these figures be eliminated this early, it just shows you how many amazing figures there are in this overall tournament. I am going to go with Zeus. I think the rubber definitely made a difference. And I think because of No Holds Barred, I feel like I'm a much larger fan of Zeus, of the Zeus character, than I would be of Hercules. It's just a great look, and hopefully this guy doesn't square off against Sid Vicious in the next round. Hopefully they don't match up that way, because if you got to eliminate one of those 2 in round 4, that's going to hurt almost as much as Barry Windham. I still love the Barry Windham figure, and I think he could have gone further given the opportunity, but you cannot take anything away from these figures. They're all amazing. And the last 3 matchups suck, but the ones that hurt me the most are the first 3 matchups. So we've got another matchup, a rematch between, I don't want to say rematch, but we do have a solid matchup between 2 of the greatest LJNs I ever acquired from Wrestlingwriter, and that's the Bruiser Brody and the Ultimate Warrior figure. We'll start with Bruiser Brody. Again, some of the highlights, we'll talk about it a million times over. Chain accessory, great piece. Absolutely phenomenal likeness of the character in face and hair. The overall design between the vest, trunks, and into the boots is perfection. Again, he possibly has my number 1 favorite pair of boots. Maybe second, just behind the Ultimate Warrior. It's really hard to choose one or the other. And again, the Greg Valentine / Barry Windham pose definitely helps make this even more of an elite figure than you would imagine. The last time I did a video featuring this character, I talked about some of the sadness surrounding his untimely passing. I don't want to talk about that again because, again, that's just very depressing, and I don't want to bring sadness like that into this tournament. Didn't mean to do it the first time, but that's how it kind of played out. So we end up with the Ultimate Warrior, as I specified. if not number one, definitely number two among my all-time favorite pair of boots. Just the way that it kind of, the way that it's, I don't know how they do that. If it's like, so I'm not an artist, so I really couldn't even imagine or even make a guess as to how they are able to fabricate the output of the boots, because obviously it's taken from a Hulk Hogan figure, and when you look at the Hogan boots, it's just plain, flat boots. There's not any of these little extra fringes but they have on the side here. It's just an absolutely gorgeous design. And of course, about a year later, Random Treasures, they come out with a very similar figure. Again, they take the Hogan figure, and when you look at the head, you look around the neck and everything, you can't tell the difference. It looks like this figure was always intended to be built this exact way. So it's a Hogan and a Ultimate Warrior 2-in-1 benefit, which is one of the reasons why this is one of my all-time favorite figures. I could say, well, this is behind this figure, that figure for that reason, or this, that, the other, but I get as much enjoyment from it as pretty much any figure on my shelves. Absolutely love this figure. And I still believe Hulk Hogan clearly has the better fighting pose than Greg Valentine. So it's too easy to say, okay, pose is better. Paint job on the face is better. Overall color scheme is more bright. Pops a whole lot more. With the Hogan pose, with the Hogan body, you got a 2-in-1. A million reasons why I believe Ultimate Warrior deserves to move forward past Bruiser Brody. I'm just not going to do it. It is so impossible, but this figure is just so perfect in just every way, shape or form. It's just not possible to see really any competition for this figure. I mean, if an Ultimate Warrior could not defeat a Bruiser Brody, you just know that this guy is going to go extremely deep in this competition. And to make matters worse, the first time I did this tournament, this Ultimate Warrior figure made it to the semifinals. In that semifinals, we had original on original, and then we had custom on custom, and then, obviously custom versus original in the finals. To be a semifinalist, one of the last four-man standing, and this time around being eliminated in the third round, absolutely horrific to lose such a phenomenal piece so early in the competition. Another reason why I think this is an absolute beast, think about his matchups in the first three rounds. Not a single one has been easy. No one has faced the competition that Bruiser Brody has faced in this tournament. He eliminated Kerry Von Erich, one of the most perfect figures you're going to find, period, in round one. He dispatched Abdullah the Butcher, one of my all-time favorite Wrestling Writer acquisitions, in round two. And now one of my most favorite figures is dispatched in round three. No battle for this figure has been easy, and he's moving on to round four. If he's finally dispatched himself in round four, you got to give him a hand clap, because, again, it's just an amazing figure who just, it just wasn't an easy tournament at all. But if you're going to beat the best, you got to beat the best. And so far, this figure is doing everything that he needs to do. Absolutely love this one. So I talked about it before. I mean, this was like, at one point, the most expensive figure I ever purchased. It was, I don't want to say it was easy, but I was on deployment at the time, so I had a little extra income, so it definitely helped. I don't know if I otherwise would have been able to do so. Now, if it was going for like $1.25, $1.50, something like that, I could have said, yeah, maybe if I was stateside, I could have gone for it. But at the original asking price of $2.50, being on deployment at the time, that definitely made things easier for me. I got some paint residue on here. I got to scrub that off. Beautiful figure. If the Barry Windham didn't hurt, this one is just an absolutely destroying me. Alright, so moving on to round four is Bruiser Brody. Alright, so coming up in the next matchup, it's going to feature, from Wrestlingwriter, Mr. Perfect versus Dusty Rhodes. Again, both figures are resin, so there are no rubber attributes that I could say one has the benefit over the other. So the Mr. Perfect figure, not quite exactly like a Hulk Hogan type fighting pose, but it's close enough. And I think at one point maybe the Ultimate Warrior dispatched Mr. Perfect, I think in like a round 5 in the first tournament. So now that the Ultimate Warrior is gone, that's one competition that Mr. Perfect doesn't have to worry about. Just a fantastic pose, great body slam pose. And overall, I just really love the overall look of the figure. I think this was number 3 on my list of favorite Wrestlingwriter acquisitions. So definitely a highlight collection piece for me. The head sculpt, again with the 3D resin figure, or with the resin figures, it's so much easier to get these lifelike looks as opposed to the more cartoony look with the original LJNs or some of their customized figures. And it goes against a beast of a figure in Dusty Rhodes. So, the first tournament I ever did, my favorite LJN tournament, this figure went against Abdullah the Butcher in the first round and was dispatched. So I never really got the opportunity to talk much about the figure other than that first matchup or only matchup he had. This time, Dusty Rhodes makes it all the way to round 3, which is incredible. No, excuse me. So, heartburn. That sucks. So everything about the figure is unique and absolutely special. Again, I like the fact that he has like this extra long championship belt, which is absolutely amazing. The pose of the figure, it's fine. It's, again, his arm back like this, kind of like a Terry Funk type of deal. Right arm still good for punching and body slam. I think you can do an adequate slam with this figure. Nothing super spectacular. Left arm under, yeah, you get that one arm body slam. It's okay. I just like it because, again, the weight is so awesome, and the overall look of the figure is great. I'm trying to think if I would like this one better if he was kind of like wearing the Hasbro polka dot type look. So did this give him... So this championship belt is for NWA. Excuse me. So I guess that would be his look from the NWA. Again, I didn't really watch those. I obviously caught a few matches on YouTube. Catching up on like some of these old wrestlers, but so I'm not really very familiar with this particular look. I know I absolutely love the figure, but is it going to be enough overall to displace Mr. Perfect for this round? I don't think so. I love the Dusty Rhodes. I'm super glad I was able to get him into the third round, but this is where I have to say goodbye. He just went against an absolutely phenomenal piece in Mr. Perfect. And, come on, this is easily going to be a 5th or 6th rounder even. This is an amazing piece. Absolutely love it. So, based on these battles so far, from Random Treasures, we have Sid Vicious and Zeus moving forward. From Wrestlingwriter, we have both the Bruiser Brody and Mr. Perfect figures moving forward. So these two figures come from John Ruggiero. They're the final 2 John Ruggiero pieces left in competition. And it does feature the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, against the Mountie. So, with Davey Boy Smith, he's got a few things that I love. For starters, the way that the chain accessory dangles while he holds Matilda, that is such a unique and phenomenal piece. No other figure I have has that type of accessory. Now, the Mega Maniac Bruce Beefcake that I bought from John Ruggiero, he did have like built-in shears, but again, those were damaged in transit. And now he got these new peppermint-looking shears that are removable. So I like that he kind of has these little build-ins. That's pretty awesome. Such a fantastic fighting pose. Not quite Greg Valentine left arm up, but the right arm is up to enough. I think this is probably closer to like a Corporal Kirshner or something. Maybe even well, maybe not. I wouldn't say Billy Jack Haynes. I think Corporal Kirshner is a good comparison. And again, with the overall display color-wise of the figure, remarkable. Absolutely amazing. Am I finally ready to say goodbye to the Mountie? Based on fighting pose alone, the Mountie, I believe, is a much better figure for play. If you're, again, the rubber figures, so you can give it to your kids for use if you want to. If you want to sit there and knock them around a little bit, you definitely could. And let's be honest, as an adult, we're going to take better care of them anyways. Some of the benefits, the built-in hat accessory, again, absolutely amazing. Could they have had something that's removable? Sure. But in this case, with this type of figure, I think I like the built-in a whole lot better than if it were loose and, he had to put it on his head. So that's really nice. I do like, as I said, the pose better than the British Bulldog. And the overall look of the Jacques Rougeau Mountie figure is absolutely amazing. A perfect rendition to the Mountie from the Hasbro collection. So I had never thought of, Mountie to me was never really one of those characters that I really cared much about to see as LJN. But, several months ago, earlier this year, when I came across John Ruggiero's figures and I saw that, they did such an amazing job with this figure. And it was one I absolutely had to have and couldn't pass on. And when I purchased the figures, I was so glad I was able to scoop them up when I did. Alright, so I think I'm going to make a decision. I don't think I'm going to harp on these two for too long. I'm just going to go with the Mountie. It's something special, unique. I mean, the British Bulldog 3 rounds had a good run, but I'm really prepared to push this forward. And when I did this tournament the first time, I don't think the Mountie made it out of the first round. So being able to get this figure all the way to round 4, it's so fantastic. And I don't know if I talked about it in this video or the previous video. It may have been this video. I can't remember. So it's good the way that I've done things this time around because it is creating a whole new tournament. I could have had the layout the same exact way as before and had the same matchups, and you're basically just watching the same thing over and over again. So at least this time you got different matchups, and you got figures that didn't make it far last time going deeper in the competition. Others that did go deep are not going as deep. And so it's different. It makes it a different tournament. It makes it a unique tournament. So, I mean, I'm kind of excited about that aspect. But like I said, there are a lot of really good figures that I can't stand losing so early in the competition. The last battle are going to feature... Okay, so they're not the last two. Currently, I have Honky Tonk Man and Coco Beware from the Raider Nation already in round 4. Still in competition here in round 3 is Doink and 123 Kid from the Raider Nation. So, the first thing to talk about with both figures, they are two absolute must-haves in my opinion. When I started collecting LJN, I started purchasing, customs on a regular basis. What are some of the figures I wanted? I wanted the Rockers. I wanted Undertaker. I wanted Doink. I wanted 123 Kid. I wanted Yokozuna. Being able to get both Doink and 123 Kid was absolutely phenomenal. I would have preferred the 123 Kid version to be the blue version from Hasbro, but I'm perfectly content with this one as well. And I think the black version, when I think of this, I think of more of like a kind of like an X-Pac type of deal, not necessarily the 123 Kid. And yes, he did wear black and white as 123 Kid. So, and by taking a Rick Martel figure, it was a perfect complement to 123 Kid because it was a great figure to use to customize as a new character. And I've said it a million times, you don't have to cut off arms, you don't have to chop off heads or anything. Sometimes all you gotta do is take an existing LJN and you can create a remarkable, lifelike new character. And with Doink, I don't know how far this one made it last time. Again, all the way into round 3. Super excited about that. He gives it this whole, killer clowns from outer space type look. Really creepy face paint, which is fantastic. Harley Race, not my favorite, but I do like the fact that it does give you more of that little sneaky, creep show type of deal with this figure. And I say Killer Clowns from Outer Space. You call him Pennywise. It's not necessarily it by chance, but did I have another figure that reminded me of Pennywise? I don't think so. I think when I did my review for Raider Nation, I think I may have been talking about Doink, but that's actually a movie, not it, but Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That's actually a movie I've been wanting to see for a very long time, and I think they actually have that movie on Tubi right now. I've been wanting to watch it with the wife, but she's not interested, so... when that movie came out, like the 80s, early 90s. I remember that movie. It's like one of my favorites as a kid. This is a tough call because, again, there are two figures I love. They're two figures that I absolutely desired, and to have them go against each other, and, it's a tough choice. I've had Doink longer, and I've been able to enjoy this figure longer, so that obviously gives it extra points. It's a fully designed figure from head to toe. That definitely gives it props all around. They did take off the jacket, the Harley Race, paint over all the skin, so it's not like it's necessarily a Harley Race per se anymore. They basically did take this and turn this into a whole new figure. It's a tough call, guys. I am going with 1-2-3 Kid. I think it's only fair. Again, it's a beautiful design, and again, what I always talk about, the pose to me is always the number one factor with any wrestling action figure. So if the person has a better pose than the other, 75 to 90% of the chance, that's the one that I'm going to choose. Obviously, if they both have really good poses or very bad poses, what have you, I might start taking design into account. And I say 75 to 90% because you never want to say a whole 100%, because there are some times where you might have, I don't know. You could have Sid Vicious versus Doink, and I could choose Doink because even though I love the pose better for Sid Vicious, I might like the overall color scheme of the Doink. So, it's really, when you sit down and actually look at them and start talking about the figures, that's when I make my determination of who I'm going to pick. Love the figure. Raider Nation does such great work. Kenny Lester, absolutely amazing. But in the very last battle of round 3, 1-2-3 Kid does defeat Doink. Alright, just to recap after each round, just to let you know how we got to round 3, or got to the end of round 3. Big John Studd defeated Custom Hogan. Andre number 2 defeated Piper, or the Custom Piper. Custom Valentine defeated the Custom Heenan. Custom Kirchner defeated Custom Davey Boy. Custom Macho Man defeated Don Morocco. Hawaiian SD Jones defeated Billy Jack Haynes. Custom Bret Hart defeated Custom Jim Brunzell. And then Kamala defeated Mega Powers Elizabeth. Custom Coco Beware defeated Vince McMahon. Custom Honky Tonk defeated Custom Axe from XOX. And again, it was the XOX color scheme, but not necessarily purchased from XOX Customs. Blackstrap Andre defeated Pink Referee. Big Boss Man defeated the original Ultimate Warrior. Hawk defeated Brother Love. And from Random Treasures, Warrior Volume 2 defeated Warlord. From this video, Sid Vicious defeated Barry Windham. Zeus defeated Hercules. Bruiser Brody defeated the Ultimate Warrior. Mr. Perfect defeated Dusty Rhodes. The Mountie defeated the British Bulldog. And finally, 1, 2, 3 Kid defeated Doink. So that leaves us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yep, so it does leave us with 20 victors. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Alright, cool. 20 victors. That means round 4 will conclude with 10 victors. Round 5 will give you your last 5 victors. Now, round 6, I can either do 1-on-1 and then the last matchup be 1-on-1-on-1, or I could save that 3-man competition for the last video or the last round and have a 3-man finals instead of a 2-man finals. So we'll see how that works out. Both round 6 and 7 will be filmed in the same video. So whether it's 3 matchups, 4 matchups, 2 matchups, whatever, that'll happen at that point. So I'm not going to stop. I'm going to make another video. Again, these last couple days, I've continued to make a ton of videos, so I'm going to keep them going strong until I complete it. If I don't get it done this weekend, today is Saturday, October 15th. So if I don't get it done this weekend, hopefully by Monday or Tuesday, I'll be done with the entire tournament. And that means I'll have videos in queue ready for posting over the course of the next 2 months or so, however long it takes to post all the videos. At some point, I might stop and just decide to just do it every 2 days, instead of 3 days. Or, I don't know, if I do deploy, I might get it done on a day-to-day basis just to get them up. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But still plan for every 3 days. Okay. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I will talk to you in the comments. See you in the next video.